let's wind it all the way back to the start. What was the genesis of Teeny Tiny Stevies?
Oh, well, my sister and I have always had a band called the Little Stevies since we were sort of since I was a late teenager. She was sort of mid teenager. We kind of like started, you know, we started as a band and we didn't even play our instruments very well. And which is, you know, it's a good way to start. I was going to say it's a bad way to start a band. It's also a good way to start a band. I mean, there's no wrong or right way to start a band. Often it's this way, I guess. And yeah, we just started playing gigs and festivals that would have us in a much more basic sort of sounding format. And yeah, we were called the Little Stevies. We got good. We kept playing and playing and playing and touring and touring and touring. We sort of learned how to tour over those years. And then we sort of got to the point with the Little Stevies where we'd been overseas a few times. We'd had some songs on the radio and things like that. And yeah, but we got to a point where, yeah, that's right. I had my first kid and it was like, you know what? It's probably not very sustainable to be going 6 months overseas and 6 months back here. So, but do we still want to be musicians? Yes. So what are we going to do? You know, we sort of had to diversify, and the ideas were things like maybe we'll try a hand at some kids songs, because we never really had ambitions to be, you know, a kids act. Like sometimes, you know, obviously sometimes people describe us as, you know, in whatever will be described as children's musicians, and I'm always like, really? But of course, like I get it, you know. But like, so it was never, you know, some huge ambition. It was just I had a kid, and it was like, I'm living with a really little person right now. Let's try and write some songs that, and we are songwriters. Let's try and write some songs that will, you know, appeal to him at that stage. And that's how it all started, in a very long-winded way.
Do you remember a band from the 90s called the Presidents of the United States of America?
Yeah.
Did you know he became a children's entertainer?
I did. I did know that. He's like baby something.
Caspar Baby Pants. Yeah.
Yeah, Caspar Baby Pants. And I haven't done a huge deep dive on him, but when we started, like, obviously I was looking up cool kids music, you know, like I'm like, how can you do this and not be, you know, I just wanted to do it in our own way that was like, I didn't want to be like anybody else, you know. Not that I'm suggesting, you know, anything is ever 100% original, but I just wanted to, you know, we definitely had that conversation. We're like, if we're going to add to this space, let's do it in our own way that's a little bit different to what's out there. So yes, I was definitely kind of like researching what other stuff is out there apart from the, you know, the stuff that we all know. So yes, I did come across him. Is he like, does he still do that? Do you know?
I think he may have recently retired it, but he was doing that for a number of years, and it was actually really good. I've interviewed him. He was actually one of the first big interviews I did for these guys back in 2020, and yeah, he's just the most lovely human being you could possibly think about. He's just absolutely lovely dude. Yeah,
that's so cool.
Because the Presidents had that kind of innocence to a lot of, you know, they're singing songs about, you know, little animals riding dune buggies and stuff. So it translated perfectly being a kid's entertainer.
Didn't they have a song about peaches?
They most certainly did. Yes. Peach. That first album was triple platinum, pretty sure. It was a monster. It was in everyone's house when I was growing up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, that's really nice. That's a lovely story. And I love that about, no, I really like that story. And there's also, you know, there's heaps of stories as well about, like, I think what's that other band? They just flipped into my head and flitted out again. They're from overseas as well. Oh, We Might Be Giants. I think they sort of started kind of morphing into, like, again, I've not deep dived on everybody who's done this before, which you think I would have, but I haven't.
Well, there was what was it called? Yo Gabba Gabba, and there was a band that used to play on that called the Aquabats, and apparently they used to be quite the punk band. And then
the punk band.
and then they just went, actually, now here's this, and yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're like, I'm a musician, that's what I do, at some point, it's very hard to be the hottest thing on Triple J forever. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So it's sort of like, not that we ever were, but you kind of like go, all right, well, I make music. That's what I do. So how do I keep doing this? And you've got to find a legitimate way to keep doing it. So yeah, we're lucky to find a way.
I think too, parenthood just is such a massive shift that,
Oh,
and no one's immune. There's an amazing video of Corey Taylor, who is the lead singer of Slipknot, performing
yes.
with an acoustic guitar to a bunch of kids the SpongeBob SquarePants theme, and
Yeah.
absolutely crushing it.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Parenthood. Do you have kids?
I do, I do.
Oh,
What are they now? Wow, 6 and 8. So
oh, parenthood is wild.
I've just got their ages wrong. 7 and 9. Whoops. No.
I do that all the time. Yeah, yeah. If you, I would have said exactly the same thing as you. I get them. They're at an age now where I'm kind of like there are.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Yeah,
two
mine like
years
11
apart, and
and
I'm
9.
tired all the time. That's
Yep,
just pretty much it. Yeah.
exactly. It's like a new phase from the really little kids, but it's like I just before had like this little like breakdown in front of my kids. I'm like, there's just a lot on. There's just a lot on. Mum's just got a lot on tonight. I need to get online. Anyway, so yeah,
Yeah. It's it's funny. Like parenthood is simultaneously one of the most unremarkable and yet the most extraordinary things that a person can do. Like
yeah,
it,
yeah,
yeah,
totally. It's like so important in our own little lives, and yet half the world does it.
yeah,
Everyone's doing it. It's like it's not some exceptional thing to be a parent, yet it feels so exceptional. Like it
yeah, yeah.
feels like how could everybody be doing this? This is like um, or depending on what mood you're in, I find anyway. I look around thinking, well, how is everybody doing this easier than I am? Like or whatever it is, depending on the
Yeah.
day. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Maternal
wild ride.
growth. Oh.
Just hold on.
um, uh, this, I just wanted to say it was very nice of you to let Taylor Swift kind of release her album first, just so you weren't hogging all the spotlight. It was very
I
nice.
know.
Just, giving
We
support to
yeah,
an upcoming artist. Well done.
we had our people chat to her people, and we just like sorted out like a timing thing, and it's no big deal. Like it's fine, totally
Yeah.
fine.
I hope you weren't planning on printing on vinyl because apparently the last time she dropped one, there was a world vinyl shortage. Uh,
Really?
yeah, there were a lot of
Wow.
bands that were a bit grumpy because yeah, all their orders got pushed back because Taylor.
That's amazing. I hadn't heard that, but I guess it's unsurprising, isn't it? What I did hear is that, I mean, I've just been honestly, when you're putting out an album, I'm sure you probably get this. I'm just on social media, I'm just trying to find all these different ways to say, we've got an album coming out over and over again.
Yeah,
And so I'm just sort of find that like, oh, just be funny about it. And so when I found out like Taylor Swift was, putting out an album at the same time, I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. I'll just do like now I'll just start talking about that.
uh,
Um, but somebody did say to me, which is the reason why I sort of started talking about it or thinking about it, is that when she puts an album out, it's not just that album that goes obviously astronomically well, but all of her older albums get this huge bump up in whatever. And then if you're an indie artist in Australia or whatever, that actually kind of affects everything.
yeah.
Sort of like, oh damn.
I can't hate her. Look, she's
Yeah, yeah, it's a
damn.
love hate thing, isn't it? Yeah, annoying that she's very good and that she's got very good songs.
Yeah, it's like
I'd
it's
love to
so much
hate her.
easier to hate her if she was, just some pop star with someone else writing her own songs.
Yeah, if
But
she was
no,
just
she writes them all,
terrible.
and that's why she's a bloody billionaire.
Totally, totally. Yeah, she's great.
So one where was it? My first exposure to you guys was the track Family, which made quite an
Oh,
impression on me when my kids were young. I'm pretty sure I must have heard it on ABC iView or something there way back in the day.
yeah.
Um, what can you tell me about the creation of that track?
Yeah. Um, family. Gosh, that was a few albums ago now. It's funny when you just said that, way back in the day, I was like, gosh, it wasn't that long ago, was it? But then it kind of was, like, in many ways.
Yeah.
It feels like ages ago and also a few seconds ago. But I think just like I was looking around, similarly to what I was saying before, like when you sort of look around the space, what we were going to sort of, what our contribution would be to the space, we were looking around at the time and going, there's not much about sort of, interesting families, different sort of family dynamics and, songs where there's like two mums or two dads or whatever, what have you, one, single parents and stuff. So, or foster parents. And so we wanted to write something, I guess, that was, had an inclusive story lying to it. I was looking around at the time. There was a family with my kids were going to school where, their mum had died. And I was thinking, gosh, there's no song for them, So, so that's sort of how that song came about, just wanting to write a song that included more families in it, I think. I think it's less unique now.
Yeah, well, it's interesting about he was never part of my life growing up because he was over in America. But Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And the more I learn about that guy, the more I'm like, oh God, I wish I grew up with him. What a lovely dude.
Yeah,
His thing about inclusive language was, they wanted to say, okay, ask your parents for help, and then they went, well, hang on, okay, some people live with their parents, or some people may only have one parent. So that line would then get workshopped to ask it would go through about 10 different revisions to end up with ask a trusted adult or ask an adult that you trust at the end of it. He put that much work into it.
Did that come from him, like the trusted adult thing?
I'm not sure if
the line.
That was just one of the examples I remember of his work ethic and the approach. So I'm not sure if he was the first, but you know what? He probably was. I mean, this was 80s, 70s even.
Yeah. That's a lovely line, really, and kind of important in different areas as well. It's I really like that song. I mean, it's funny. We've also been contacted from people over the years who were upset that their family wasn't in the song. And at some point, I'm like, oh my gosh, you should add your own verse.
Yeah.
I want to include you too, but we can't re-record the song.
Now, what inspired the creation of the Green Album? Was the sustainability angle something that you went into the writing process with, or did it happen organically?
Organically, no. So the last few albums we have been asking parents sort of what we should write about next. Sort of in the spirit of asking our audience what they want, like what are the little challenges they're coming up against in their home life, in their families, or what little challenges are their kids having, what can we help with, how can we be useful? And every time we would ask that, we would just get so many replies of all sorts of things, but we would every time get lots of replies about like, I want them to be learning more about the environment, about sustainability, about climate change, about how we're, part of, we are not separate from the environment. We are part of the environment. We are one and the same. And so we just got that so much. We were like, and also ourselves, us as parents, it's on our minds, like this sort of, I'm not sure if you're similar, but this sort of existential anxiety about what are we actually looking at here? Like, what is this? This feels really big. And we both felt like it feels really overwhelming sometimes. And that sort of almost dread and panic has nowhere to go so we thought, let's actually just dedicate a whole album to this topic and sort of break it down into sort of, subtopics
Mm.
and do a whole bunch of research and then write a whole bunch of useful stuff that is hopefully empowering, inspiring, and also is funny, is not judgmental, because I think in this space often, there's a lot of judgment that goes along with this sort of messaging that I don't know is helpful. I don't feel good when I'm feeling judged for getting my key cup or whatever. How dare you judge me? You don't know all the other things I've done during today to get, So yeah, I think laughter is really important in that. I think that's how you change people's minds sometimes. So there's a big emphasis on, trying to make the listener giggle, I think, on this album. And yeah, just joyfulness. And so that's sort of how we came to the topic. We just noticed it was coming up a lot. Obviously, these sort of conversations, we feel like it's obvious that they're happening in houses already. It's obvious that parents are having these conversations with kids. Kids are having these conversations with parents. So we don't feel that we're sort of like touching on anything that's not already been talked about. And when we sat down to like actually write about some of these things, we realized ourselves that I don't actually know, for example, like, I don't actually know how electricity works. Like how does the power get to the house and just as an adult, you kind of realized, I'm sure I learned that at some point. So we had to like relearn all this stuff and like, which was amazing and incredible and, really such a gift. So yeah, so that's how we sort of came to write all of this stuff. And I'm so glad we did, because it's been useful to us as well.
Yeah. So I only just realized that in 2020, you actually beat the Wiggles for Best Children's Album at the ARIAs.
We did.
That has got to be like toppling a Goliath with a slingshot in terms of...
It was very surprising, actually. Yeah. Yes, it was 2020 and it was in the middle of lockdown. So we weren't at the ARIAs. We were at home. And we were online, but they called out our name, which was good. It was good. It was good.
Did you gloat at all? Be honest.
I mean, like not specifically to them or anything, but like, of course, like constantly.
Hey, Anthony.
Just sort of in general. Yeah, Dorothy, is that you? Yeah.